The origin story of DC Comics. DC Comics, Incorporated, also known as DC, is a comic book publisher based in the United States and the main division of DC Entertainment, a Warner Bros. Discovery division. With their first comic book, published under the DC label in 1937, one of the biggest and most established American comic book publishers is DC Comics. The majority of its works are set in the made-up DC universe and include many heroic figures who have become cultural icons, including Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman, Green Lantern, and Cyborg. It is also recognized for producing some of the most well-known and identifiable teams, such as the Teen Titans, the Justice League, the Justice Society of America, and the Suicide Squad. A sizable number of well-known supervillains, including the Joker, Lex Luthor, the Cheetah, the Reverse Flash, Black Manta, Sinestro, and Darkseid, are also present in the universe. Watchmen, V for Vendetta, Fables, and numerous other comics were published by the company under its alternate name Vertigo, which is now DC Black Label. The DC Comics offices have been situated at 480 and later 575 Lexington Avenue, 909 3rd Avenue, 75 Rockefeller Plaza, 666 Fifth Avenue, and 1325 Avenue of the Americas since their founding in Manhattan at 432 4th Avenue. In April 2015, DC Entertainment moved its offices from 1700 Broadway in Midtown Manhattan, New York City, to Burbank, California. While Diamond Comic Distributors supplied the comics shop direct market up until June 2020, when Lunar Distribution and UCS Comic Distributors, who already dominated direct market distribution due to the disruption to Diamond that resulted from the COVID-19 pandemic, replaced Diamond to distribute to that market. Penguin Random House Publisher Services now distributes DC Comics books to the bookstore market. National Periodical Publications. The debut of the revamped superheroes by DC wasn't overlooked by other comic book publishers. With the release of the first issue of the Fantastic Four in 1961, Marvel Comics writer-editor Stan Lee and a strong creative in Jack Kirby launched the Sub-Silver Age, Marvel Age of Comics, with DC's JLA serving as the specific catalyst. According to reports, DC overlooked the early success of Marvel with this editorial adjustment until its steadily increasing sales, even though it also benefited independent news business as their distributor, which made that impractical. This business position was made more acute by Marvel's stronger sell-through percentage figures, which were routinely 70% to DC's approximately 50%. As a result, DC's publications were barely turning a profit after returns from distributors were calculated, while Marvel was doing quite well. Kinney National/Warner Communications, 1967 to 1990. Kinney National Company bought National Periodical Publications in 1967. Then, in 1969, it bought Warner Bros. 7 Arts. In 1972, Kinney National, then known as National Kinney Corporation, split off its non-entertainment assets and changed its name to Warner Communications Incorporated. At the close of the Silver Age of Comics, in which Jack Kirby's contributions to Marvel played a significant, important role, Kirby switched from Marvel Comics to DC in 1970. Given complete creative freedom, he produced several thematically related series he dubbed collectively the Fourth World. Kirby introduced such enduring figures and concepts as arch-villain Darkseid and the other dimensional realm Apocalypse in his own, newly launched series New Gods, Mr. Miracle, and the Forever People, as well as in the established series Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen and his own, recently launched series. Additionally, Kirby planned for their tales to be reproduced in collected volumes in a publishing style afterward known as the trade paperback, which later on became common industry practice. Although sales were decent, they fell short of DC management's initially high expectations and were also hampered by Infantino's lack of understanding and internal support. The Fourth World was completely abandoned by 1973, but Kirby's ideas quickly contributed to the expansion of the DC universe, especially after the prominent toymaker Kenner Products deemed them suitable for their action figure DC Universe adaptation, the Superpowers Collection. Before eventually making his way back to Marvel Comics in 1976, Kirby created several unrelated series for DC, including Kamandi, The Demon, and OMAC, as required by his contract. Bronze Age. The Bronze Age of comics, which followed the science fiction advances of the Silver Age, was characterized by the transition from fantasy to more realistic and occasionally harsher subjects in the 1970s and 1980s. The Comics Code Authority forbade the use of illegal drugs, and it was explicitly depicted in a comic book for the first time in Marvel Comics' Green Goblin Reborn. In The Amazing Spider-Man No. 96, May 1971. In response, the code was updated, and DC offered a drug-fueled plot in writer Dennis O'Neil and artist Neil Adams' Green Lantern, starting with the story Snowbirds Don't Fly in the retitled Green Lantern. DC Comics. DC Comics became the official name of the business in 1977. It had been known informally as DC Comics for many years and had been using the brand Superman DC since the 1950s. 5 months before the debut of the first Superman film, in June 1978, Kahn expanded the line even more by boosting the price from 35 cents to 50 cents and adding more titles and story pages. The majority of series received 8-page backup features, while several had 25-page full-length stories. The business referred to this action as the DC Explosion. The strategy did not work, though, and corporate parent Warner drastically reduced its spending on these largely unprofitable titles, laying off a large number of employees in what industry observers termed the DC implosion. The line was drastically cut in September 1978, and standard-size books were once again 17-page stories, albeit at a still increased 40-cent price. By 1980, the price of the books had increased to 50 cents with a 25-page narrative count, but house advertisements had been substituted with tail pages. Modern Age. The editors of DC want to revitalize the entire DC universe after the Silver Age Teen Titans triumph. As a result, the company had the opportunity to realign and drop several of the characters' convoluted backstories and continuity inconsistencies in the 12-issue limited series Crisis on Infinite Earths by Wolfman and Paris. The updated histories of the main DC characters were presented in 2 companion publications titled The History of the DC Universe. Crisis divided the history of DC publications into pre- and post-Crisis, featuring numerous significant deaths that influenced the DC universe for the decades that followed. In the meantime, a parallel upgrade had begun in the horror and non-superhero series. The horror series The Saga of the Swamp Thing had been revived in early 1984 thanks to the work of British author Alan Moore, and soon several British authors, including Neil Gaiman and Grant Morrison, started working as freelancers for the firm. Due to the inflow of complex horror fantasy content that resulted, DC created the Vertigo Mature Readers brand in 1993. This imprint did not adhere to the Comics Code Authority. Time Warner/AOL Time Warner, 1990 to 2018. When Warner Communications and Time Incorporated merged in March 1989, DC Comics became a division of Time Warner. The first Tim Burton-directed Batman film was released in June, and DC started releasing its hardback DC Archive Edition series. These compilations of many of their early, important comic series contain rare and pricey stories that many contemporary fans have never seen. Rick Keene handled the restoration for several of the Archive editions, and Bob Leros, DC's longtime resident colorist, handled the restoration of the color. These books made an effort to give artists and writers who had contributed to DC without receiving much credit in the formative years of comics when individual credits were scarce. That's all for today's origin story video, guys. Tell us your thoughts in the comments section. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Let us know what origin story you'd like to learn about next in the comments. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. See you in the next video. Until then, best wishes. Thanks for watching.